and welcome everybody. I am joined today by the wonderful Iain Sainsbury. Hello, Iain.
Hi there.
And many of you may know Iain because he was one of the handmade jewelers in the recent Handmade Jeweler series that we released on our YouTube channel. If you haven't checked it out, definitely go and check it out. But Iain is here today because he is one of our incredible diploma graduates. And as many of you will know, because we've been going on about it for such a long time, this is the final week to sign up to any of the jewelry diploma programs. So I invited Iain on to just have a little chat about his experience and share a little bit about his business. So if you're still weighing up whether it's right for you, maybe Iain will be able to help you kind of with his story. So Iain, tell us a bit about you now, just to give context, your jewelry business and where you're at the moment.
Yep, thanks. So I came to jewelry very late. I had a completely different career beforehand and had no experience in jewelry creating, anything like that. So in about 2018, I burnt out at work and I had to find a different access point to find something to do with my life. And I started making things, but you can only learn so much through things like YouTube and reading the odd article. And I came across actually one of your adverts for the silver diploma. And at that point in time, I was making the odd thing in copper, and I was making a bit of jewelry here and there, and I played around with a bit of sand casting. It was great fun, and I was like, I really want to do more of this. So I think I actually reached out to you because I was like, which one should I do? Because I had no knowledge of jewelry business at all in the past, so I wasn't coming from a BA or anything like that, so I had no idea where to start. And I was sent the sort of prospectus for both the fine and the silver, because they were the only two that were running at the time. And I looked at the silver one and thought, there's a lot of stuff I've already done. Interestingly now, I think Emily said the same thing. Looking at it, I wish I'd gone back and done it, because there's stuff in there that actually I could probably improve upon for later that I've picked up along the way. But I looked at the two of them and I thought, there's a lot in here. How on earth am I ever going to be able to do this? And I haven't got all the tools, and I haven't got an idea of where to start. So I thought, well, for me, I was lucky I have time, mainly because at the time I was recovering from this burnout, so I wasn't working, and I thought, if I'm going to do it, I want to push myself, I want to stretch myself. So I went in for the Fine Diploma. And when I looked at what was in the Fine Diploma, I remember thinking, wow, I don't think I'll be able to make half the stuff in here, but we'll give it a go. And immediately it was just like, it's an uphill learning curve, but it's very much a doable uphill learning curve, if that makes sense. I didn't have half the kit, but I bought things as I went along. I made very little in gold for the fine. I did a couple of things here and there, but the vast majority is in silver, which I believe is still perfectly acceptable. And it's a lot of it was around developing skills, developing techniques, and it just expanded my capability dramatically. And I don't know if anybody sort of saw Emily's one a couple of days ago, and she said something about the fact that she'd done in-person workshops and then she'd come to this, and she found the video incredibly good. I'm exactly the same. I hadn't done in person at the time. I have subsequently, and actually I find the video, because the video is so detailed, and I was blown away by what the team recorded when they did the Handmade Jewelers, and how detailed they got some of the stuff. But because it's so detailed, it's like having a personal tutor sitting beside you showing you how to do things, but in great detail. And so I found it immensely useful. I sort of just discovered so many new techniques that I hadn't tried or even thought of. Some I loved, some projects were brilliant, some projects were really hard, but got through all of them and came out the other side thinking, I want to do more. And so after a year, I think it's probably 9 months or so, you and the team sort of said, we're looking at doing the Advanced Diploma, I was like,
Yeah,
yes.
because on your cohort, we didn't have an advanced diploma yet,
No,
so we were like making it like yeah.
So when you came along and sort of said we're doing this, would you be interested? I was like, yes, absolutely, because I'd seen a couple of the I think you sent a couple of the images of what we'll be doing. And I was like, yep, this is where I want to go, because for me, whilst I started working in copper, I pretty soon discovered like I enjoy doing this. So I moved in silver, and now I use silver to prototype, and I do most of my final work either in a mix of silver and gold or in gold. And that's just the way I've developed. I love working in gold. It's so much nicer, although it's horrifically expensive at the moment. But it's one of those things that it's like a natural progression from one to the other. They're not. I reflect what others have said, that there isn't necessarily a massive step change from one to the other, but the techniques are very different. And if you haven't done the fine, you really struggle to do the advanced, because there's that fine motor skill that you pick up from doing one that you can transfer to the other. And certainly it's then taken my business from one place to somewhere completely different, because when I started, um, the fine, I was producing bits of copper and the odd bit of silver here and there. Now, after doing the 2 diplomas, I'm doing pave setting, I'm doing uh, fine bezel setting in gold and all the rest of it. And it just gave me that capability of moving from one position completely to somewhere else, which is where I wanted to get to. And it's always a learning process, but yeah, it's made a big difference, certainly to my business.
Yeah, it has been amazing to see your progression, and I notice this with all the students, but I think you're great at sharing. So we really see kind of how your jewelry has developed over the years. What skills, I mean, you've mentioned it a little bit, but from the diploma, have really informed your work now? And maybe you can tell us a bit about your work now, because you're exhibiting at Goldsmiths North Fair in a short period of time, and you're applying to lots of other big fairs which you can't get into unless you're kind of doing some of these more elaborate pieces. Maybe you could talk a bit about the techniques and your collections that you're creating now.
Yes, thanks. So there are 3 collections, three plus a couple of bits I'm going to take to Goldsmiths North. The one that actually got me the place was a collection called Bomb Collection, which is focused on bomb rings, the very 1920s kind of thing. And I did a number of different finishes to them. I mix it with sand casting, which is kind of my signature style. But I sort of added in, there's some pave setting in there. There's some straight bead setting. There's lots of different finishes. There's Keembu as well. I use Keembu quite a lot in various things. All of those I learnt during the some from the fine and some from the advanced. So there's some techniques I picked up, and then I mean, I've made some castle sets or split claw sets, rings as well. But in the bomb collection particularly, a lot of the techniques came from the diplomas. I've got 2 other collections, the Entwine collection, which I'm working on at the moment, which is focused around 5 rings. And actually, the technique to make 5-ring Russian wedding rings essentially is what they are on various scales, from very big down to very small. That was on the advanced diploma as well. So that's another piece. It's not as easy to make it look really nice as you think it would be. It looks really simple, but it's actually really quite tricky. And then on top of that, there's then the other one, which is my Atomium collection, which is focused very much on bezel and tube set, which is something that I've just picked up along the way. But it's multiple solder joins on single pieces, which is something that goes back to one of the projects I found the most difficult in both diplomas, which was the little baskets that you make in, I think it's term 1 of the fine diploma. But it's one of those things that doing it, and I've seen other people who've been through outside of my cohort, and doing it gives you a proper appreciation of the skill of soldering. and soldering with one type of solder. It's challenging, but it's totally achievable and really good, and it helps a huge amount going forward.
Yeah, all about the angles, isn't it, with the heat and not melting previous solder joins, and the patience and all those kind of things. Yeah, awesome. And tell us a bit about the support in the diplomas and how that was helpful for you, because I find different people find different things helpful. Some people it's all about the Facebook group, for others it's more like the mentors or the group Zooms, and some people it's all of the above. You were great at getting involved in things, so maybe you can talk a bit about what was helpful for you.
So I thought, I'm as you said, I mean, I like to get involved. So I mean, I was involved in all of them. The Facebook group is brilliant if you don't like appearing on camera, or you like to have just a written sort of way of discussing things, and it's really useful as a resource. So it's one of those things that you drop into and you go, I'm having the same issue. This is what I've done, or how on earth do I sort that out? And the Facebook groups are probably the core, I'd say, of the day-to-day peer-to-peer support, which is one of the things that makes the online experience less online, if you like, because there's always somebody there. There's always somebody to talk to. The mentoring side of things, I had some fantastic mentors. I had Barbara Yard in my Fine Diploma, and then I had Hayley Kruger in my Advanced, and also a bit with Catherine Richmond. And it all three of them were absolutely fantastic. I mean, the one thing, so working with Hayley in the in the Advanced was the transition in finish quality. Mm-hmm. And that was something that she helped me with a lot, because that is something that takes you from one level of making jewelry to another level, is the end finish. And that was something that I picked up purely through discussions with her on how to do various things. And then there's the sort of the group calls, and I mean they don't always schedule in perfectly to life. That's one of those things. But I mean, I tried to make all the ones I could, and it's really you end up with like a nice little core group of people that you get to know really well. Some people make all of them, some people can't make all of them, some people make one or two. But I found that a lot of the people who were on those calls, I've kept in touch with a lot carrying on. I met them at jewelry fairs and various other things. And it's quite nice to meet up with people in person eventually. We've done it at various different jewelry things. So it's not just an online sitting in your room or sitting in your workshop doing a course. There's very much an interactive nature, which I wasn't expecting when I started, and I found really, really useful, really, really good, because it just it helps when you're sitting there, so beating your head against the brick wall, going, "How do I do this?" Just to reach out, and go, "Does anybody else have an idea?" And it's one of those things that even if you're looking at the videos, even if you've read the notes, sometimes it just doesn't click until somebody says, "Have you done this?" And that's what makes it so good.
Yeah, and I think absolutely. I think, just having instructions, is a start, but you're right. When there's a community around you, it brings it to life, doesn't it, a bit more? And I think, you guys are also great at supporting each other as well. And even though you've got the mentors which have like the expertise, sometimes it's really nice to see how your peers are getting on, because sometimes for the mentors, you're like, well, you can do it because you've done it 100 times. What about us who've never done it before? So I think there's that, you guys seem to have that really nice mixture of, the kind of support. And it's wonderful to see you guys meeting up and, kind of going to events and things and supporting each other. And hopefully those will be kind of lifelong like friendships that you'll have within the industry, which is really cool. So what's next for you, Iain? What's coming up? Obviously you've got the shows coming up.
Yes, I'm having a busy period at the moment, because I've never done a live show before. So I've never done a live fair. So I'm going to Goldsmiths North in July, which is one of the 2 Goldsmith Company fairs for the year. It's slightly shorter, thankfully, than Goldsmiths in London. But basically to that, it's just getting things sorted and finishing off collections, sending them off for hallmarking, which I have to do. Finishing off I've got a couple of commissions which I've got to finish as well. So it's pretty busy at the moment. But looking forward into the rest of the year, I mean, hopefully I've got another couple of applications in. Be nice to get another couple of shows in. And then, yeah, we'll see what happens. But yeah, it's nice. I do quite a lot of stuff on Instagram, and it's nice to get. So I put out quite a lot of reels, and it's interesting to see what people come back with off them, because some people comment on them, and you think, yeah, that could be quite nice to sort of take and discuss a bit further. So I sometimes just focus on those a bit. But no, it's pretty busy at the moment, just trying to create as well as get everything sorted for a show, which I've never done before.
Yeah, well, we are very much supporting you and excited to, see how the show comes together. And I'm sure there'll be many more as well to come. I'm sure we're going to be seeing lots more of you. So yeah, well done on everything you've achieved, because you've put a lot of work in, both in the jewelry and in, like making use of the support that's available as well. I think it's been, inspiring to see. So what advice would you give to someone who's like thinking about joining a diploma, maybe not sure which one to do? And also, are there any tips that helped you, for someone who's already signed up and thinking, okay, how do I make the most of this? Any thoughts around those ideas?
That's a lot of questions. Yes.
Yeah, 5 questions.
So I suppose let's deal with the first one. Should you sign up to do them? I would say without doubt, yes. And the reason I say that is not just because you've asked me to come on and talk about this, but it's made such difference to what I do, how I do it, that I could not learn through watching YouTube videos. No matter how good the person is doing it, it's not the same quality. So, and you don't get the same support. You don't get the sort of the tutoring and the discussions. So, for me, I mean, I was lucky. I came across it very early on, so I've progressed quite fast. But even if you're somebody who's got a fair amount of experience, still look at it and say, what can I learn? What can I take away? Because that's the benefit of these. Which one should you do? Yeah, so that's a really good question. I mean, I missed out the silver one. There are things that I see the silver this year's cohort doing that I think that's really amazing. And I mean, as much experience as I have now, if I'd done the silver one, I'd probably be slightly better at piercing. I'd probably be slightly better at one or two other things. I still think that push yourself is what I'd say. If you genuinely think you can do all of these things, then put a case forward and say, look, could I do this one? But if you have any hesitancy, just do the silver one. There's so much detail in there. There's so much you're to learn from it. And if you're very skilled, do the advanced one. It's brilliant. The other thing, tips: don't give up. Reach out to people, talk to people. One of the current cohort on the Fine, I know very well, and we've discussed things in workshops, so that it's sort of like been very helpful. I know for her to be able to do that as well as the online stuff. But don't give up when you're doing it, and it's all doable within the time you have. I'm lucky because I have nothing else apart from looking after the family and 2 very big dogs. So I'm lucky in that respect.
That's quite a lot still, but I know what you mean. You didn't have the full-time job or anything.
No, I didn't have the full-time job, but it's a case of with the amount of time that is recommended, they're totally doable. Just be structured. When the things come out, don't let yourself get behind. That's what I'd say, because there are some projects where you need the full amount of time. Tennis bracelet, one of them. Hollow bangle in the advanced course is another one. They're ones which are technically tricky. You're not going to get it right first time, I can tell you. But when you get it right, it's really, really good. So that's the thing, is just make sure you keep on top of it. And I think they're the key things. But interact with people. Don't miss out on the opportunity that the discussion groups and the Facebook groups give you. It's one of those things that if you're quiet and you don't ever engage, you're missing out on the sort of the peer learning, which is such an integral part.
Absolutely. Great tips, Iain. And they're quite similar to some of the others, which is really interesting. Kind of see like that "don't get behind" has come up a
Yeah.
few times. Yeah, but there are lots of weeks built in for like holidays and workshop weeks and things like that. So it's definitely, like you said, it's kind of all achievable. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Last question. What are you most proud of in terms of just your jewelry journey so far? Not to do with the diplomas, well, it could be, but just generally, like what, you know, on reflection, like, are you just proud that you just went for it, or is it about this show coming up, or is it something completely different? What moment did you have, like a moment where you were like, I feel really like I've done a good job here?
I think the thing that underlined the thing I'm most proud of is getting into the show, because if I think back to 2018 when I had to stop my previous job, I had no idea of what I was going to do with the rest of my life, or what I was going to do job-wise or anything like that. And getting a stand at Goldsmiths North Fair, whilst it may seem not important to some people, it's a highly curated fair, which they look at it and they decide whether or not you're at the same standard. And that to me is validation of the fact that I've taken the opportunity and to run with it to end up where I am now. And that's the thing I think that I'm most proud of. I mean, there's no way I'd be here in this state if I hadn't done the courses, but also it's something that has allowed me to go beyond where I thought I was able of getting to, I suppose. So yeah, it's the progression, I think, is the thing I'm most proud of.
Yeah, and in just a few short years. So we're very proud of you for sure, and excited to see the rest of your journey unfold. Well, Iain, thank you so much for coming on. And anyone listening, if you are thinking about joining us for any of the jewelry diplomas, tomorrow is the deadline, people. Friday the 7th of June. We only have a couple of spaces left on the advanced. I think there's 3 spaces left. So definitely, if you want to do that one, get in early. The others do have spaces on, but some of the kits have run out. But if you need any help with any of it, just get in touch. And we're excited for those of you that have already joined that we get to spend a whole year together next year working. And I know a lot of you are on the diplomas at the moment, so we're just excited to continue the journey. And Iain, if people want to come and find you and they don't know you yet, where is the best place online for them to come and connect?
It's head to Instagram, and it's Iain's, IAIN, like my thing, wherever it is done. Iain's _jewellery. Jewellery with 2 L's, the English way. Failing that, iansainsbury.com, and you can find me through that.
Yeah, definitely go and give Iain a follow if you haven't already. He's very inspiring jeweler and all-round lovely person, and go and send him a message too and say well done. So thanks again, Iain. Thanks everyone for watching, and I'm sure we'll speak soon. Bye for now.
Cheers.